A sperm whale takes one last breath at the surface, lifts its tail, and disappears. At first, nothing seems unusual. The water is still blue. Sunlight still reaches down. You can almost imagine the whale swimming calmly beneath the waves. But then, the ocean starts to change. The light fades. The temperature drops. The water gets heavier with every meter. Soon, there is no blue left. No horizon. No sense of direction. Just cold, black water pressing against the whale from every side. At more than 2,000 meters down, the pressure is strong enough to crush spaces filled with air. A human body would never survive there without protection. Even machines can struggle in conditions like this. But the sperm whale keeps going. Its heartbeat slows. Its lungs begin to collapse. Blood pulls away from parts of the body that can wait. Oxygen is saved for the brain, the heart, and the muscles that keep it moving. And somehow, the deeper it goes, the more capable it becomes. This is the part most people get wrong. The deep ocean does not simply test the sperm whale. It activates the very systems that make this animal such an effective hunter. So, why does the ocean's largest predator become more dangerous as the world around it becomes more deadly? The deeper a sperm whale dives, the less the ocean feels like the world we know. Past a certain point, sunlight is completely gone. The water turns freezing cold. Every meter down adds more pressure, until the whale is surrounded by a force that's hard to imagine. According to the video, a sperm whale can dive deeper than 2,000 meters. Down there, the pressure can exceed 200 atmospheres. Every inch of its body has to deal with an incredible amount of force. It's enough to damage structures that seem impossibly strong. Most of us would assume the answer is simple. If you live under that much pressure, you must have a tougher body, stronger bones, a more rigid frame. That's what makes sense at first. But the sperm whale doesn't survive by becoming harder. It survives by becoming more flexible. That's what makes this animal so fascinating. Instead of fighting the pressure, it works with it. Instead of resisting every bit of force pushing against its body, it allows parts of its body to change as the pressure increases. At first, that sounds completely backward. We usually think strength means standing firm and refusing to bend. But in the deep ocean, that strategy doesn't always work. The deeper the whale goes, the more the rules begin to change. Down there, being too stiff can actually become a weakness. A body that refuses to adapt has a much harder time dealing with extreme pressure. The sperm whale takes the opposite approach. It gives the ocean room to do what it naturally does, while its own body adjusts to stay protected. That idea changes the way you look at this animal. Its greatest advantage isn't that it's stronger than the ocean. It's that it never wastes energy trying to defeat something it can never beat. Instead, it adapts. And that simple choice is what allows it to reach places where very few animals can survive. This is where things get even more surprising. The sperm whale doesn't keep its body rigid as it dives deeper. It actually lets parts of its body change shape. Its rib cage is built differently from most mammals. Instead of acting like a solid frame, the ribs are connected by flexible cartilage. As the pressure builds, the chest can slowly compress instead of resisting it. That might sound dangerous, but it's exactly what keeps the whale safe. Think about it for a second. If something is completely stiff, all that force has to go somewhere. Eventually, something gives, but a body that can flex spreads that force out instead of taking the full impact all at once. The sperm whale uses that idea naturally. As it sinks deeper, its chest gradually becomes smaller. The overall volume of the body decreases. Air-filled spaces become smaller too, leaving less room for pressure to create dangerous stress inside the body. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly effective. Instead of trying to stay exactly the way it was at the surface, the whale allows itself to change with its surroundings. It's constantly adjusting as the environment changes around it. By this point, it doesn't even resemble the animal floating peacefully on the surface anymore. It's becoming denser, more compact, more stable. Every part of its body is slowly shifting into a form that's better suited for the deep ocean. The deeper it goes, the more its body starts to match the world around it instead of fighting against it. That's the real secret. Its strength doesn't come from overpowering the ocean. It comes from knowing when to give in and let nature do part of the work. But that creates an even bigger question. If the chest keeps collapsing under all that pressure, what happens to the lungs of an air-breathing mammal? Now here's the part that sounds completely wrong at first. Most of us hear the words collapsed lungs and immediately think of an emergency. For humans, that's exactly what it is. For a sperm whale, it's something entirely different. As the whale dives deeper, the pressure keeps building. Air is easy to squeeze. Soft tissue and fluids aren't. That's a huge difference, and the whale's body takes full advantage of it. Instead of trying to keep its lungs full of air, it lets them collapse. That isn't a failure. It's part of the plan. As the lungs compress, the remaining air is pushed into thick-walled airways that can safely handle the pressure. Once that happens, gas exchange inside the lungs almost comes to a stop. It sounds strange, but this is one of the smartest survival systems the whale has. By limiting gas exchange at extreme depths, much less nitrogen continues moving into the bloodstream. And when it's finally time to return to the surface, there's far less chance of dangerous gas bubbles forming inside the body. In other words, the whale avoids one of the biggest risks of deep diving by changing the way its own lungs work. That's an incredible trade-off. For most mammals, breathing is what keeps you alive. For the sperm whale, knowing when to stop relying on its lungs is what helps it survive the deepest parts of the ocean. What looks like the body shutting down is actually the body protecting itself. It's another reminder that life in the deep sea follows a completely different set of rules. The sperm whale doesn't survive because it ignores the pressure. It survives because every part of its body is willing to adapt to it. And with its lungs no longer doing their usual job, another question comes up. If the whale can't depend on its lungs for oxygen during these long dives, where does all that oxygen come from? By now, you might be wondering something. If the whale's lungs have already collapsed, how can it stay underwater for more than an hour? Most people assume the answer is bigger lungs. But that's not really the secret. The sperm whale isn't carrying an endless supply of oxygen. It simply uses the oxygen it already has far more efficiently than almost any other mammal. The moment it leaves the surface, its body switches into a completely different mode. Its heart slows down dramatically. Instead of beating at its normal pace, it drops to roughly half that rate during deep dives. That change alone saves a huge amount of energy. But that's only the beginning. The whale also starts redirecting its blood. It doesn't waste oxygen on every part of the body at the same time. Blood vessels leading to the skin, the digestive system, and the kidneys tighten. Those organs can temporarily slow down because they aren't essential during the hunt. Instead, the richest oxygen supply is sent where it matters most. The brain gets what it needs. The powerful swimming muscles get what they need. Everything else waits. It's almost like the whale is running on emergency power. Except this isn't an emergency. It's a strategy that's been refined over millions of years. Every bit of oxygen has a job. Nothing is wasted. That's why the sperm whale can keep moving through complete darkness long after most mammals would have been forced to surface. It isn't breathing more. It isn't creating extra oxygen. It's simply managing a limited supply with incredible precision. That's what makes this system so impressive. The whale knows exactly where oxygen is needed and where it can afford to go without it for a while. Every heartbeat, every drop of blood, and every movement is part of the same plan. But even the smartest oxygen management system has a limit. Eventually, the whale still needs a place to store enough oxygen for these incredibly long dives. And surprisingly, that place isn't inside its lungs anymore. So if the lungs aren't storing enough oxygen for these long dives, where is it coming from? The answer is hidden inside the whale's muscles. This is where one of the sperm whale's biggest advantages comes into play. Its muscles are packed with a protein called myoglobin. According to the video, sperm whales have far more myoglobin than land mammals. That single difference completely changes how they survive underwater. You can think of myoglobin as a backup oxygen supply. Instead of keeping oxygen in the lungs, the whale stores a huge amount of it directly inside its muscles. Then it uses that supply only when it really needs it. That's what makes this system so efficient. Myoglobin holds onto oxygen much more tightly than the hemoglobin in blood. It doesn't let go right away. It waits until oxygen levels inside the muscle become very low, then slowly releases what the muscle needs. It's almost like millions of tiny batteries spread throughout the whale's body. Each one holds a small reserve of oxygen. Together, they give the whale enough energy to keep hunting long after most animals would have run out. This also explains something scientists have noticed for years. A sperm whale's muscles are incredibly dark. They're almost black compared to the reddish muscles we normally associate with mammals. According to the video, that's because they're packed with myoglobin and iron. Even more interesting, these myoglobin molecules are able to stay packed together without clumping. The video explains that their surface charge causes them to repel one another, allowing an unusually high concentration to fit inside the muscle while still working normally. But storing oxygen is only part of the story. As the dive continues, hard swimming would normally lead to a buildup of lactic acid, the chemical that causes muscles to burn and eventually give out. The sperm whale handles that problem better than most animals. Its body can tolerate that chemical buildup for much longer, allowing its muscles to keep working even when conditions become extremely demanding. That's a huge advantage during a hunt. While the giant squid is slowly losing energy, the sperm whale still has enough left to keep chasing. Not because it has unlimited oxygen, but because every bit of oxygen has been stored, protected, and released exactly when it's needed. By this point, the sperm whale already seems incredible. It can handle crushing pressure. It can stay underwater for over an hour. It stores oxygen in places most mammals can't. But there's another feature that makes this animal even more fascinating. It's hidden inside that enormous head. The video describes an organ filled with a special waxy oil called spermaceti. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. But according to the explanation in the video, this material may do far more than simply fill space. Here's the interesting part. The video explains that this oil changes as its temperature changes. When it gets colder, it becomes denser and more solid. When it warms up again, it turns back into a liquid. According to the video's description, this change could help the whale adjust how it moves through the water, making it easier to descend or rise while using less energy. It's a clever idea. Instead of constantly powering its way through the ocean with massive tail strokes, the whale may be able to let part of its own body work with the surrounding water. The video compares this process to the ballast system of a submarine. A submarine changes its buoyancy by moving water in and out of ballast tanks. The sperm whale, according to this explanation, may achieve something similar without pumps, engines, or heavy machinery. Instead, the process relies on temperature changes, cold seawater, and the flow of warm blood moving through the tissues around the spermaceti organ. As the whale prepares for a deep dive, colder conditions are described as helping the material become denser. Later, when it's time to return to the surface, warm blood flowing through the area is described as helping reverse that process. Whether descending into darkness or making the long trip back up, the system is presented as a way to conserve precious energy during every dive. What makes this idea so fascinating isn't just the organ itself. It's the way the whale appears, to use natural changes in temperature instead of brute force whenever possible. And as remarkable as that sounds, the spermaceti organ isn't finished yet. According to the video, its next role may be even more extraordinary. It becomes part of the system that allows the sperm whale to see through complete darkness using nothing but sound. By now, the sperm whale has solved two huge problems. It can survive crushing pressure, and it can stay underwater for more than an hour. But none of that matters if it can't find food. The deep ocean is almost completely dark. At those depths, eyesight isn't much help. Even if your eyes are perfect, there's almost nothing to see. So the sperm whale does something much smarter. It doesn't depend on vision. It depends on sound. According to the video, everything starts inside the whale's nasal system. Powerful clicks are produced deep inside its head. Those sound waves don't spread out in every direction. Instead, they're guided through the structures inside the whale's massive head before being projected forward in a focused beam. Then comes the important part. The sound travels through the water until it hits something. A giant squid, a school of fish, or anything else in front of the whale. The echoes bounce back, and those returning signals tell the whale what it needs to know: how far away the target is, how big it is, where it's moving. All of that information comes from sound alone. In many ways, the whale's head works like a living sonar system. It doesn't need light because it's building a picture of the world using echoes instead. That's what makes this so impressive. The darkness that hides prey from almost every other hunter doesn't work the same way against a sperm whale. For most animals, darkness is protection. For the sperm whale, it's almost an advantage. The darker the water becomes, the less useful eyesight is for everything else. But the whale's navigation system keeps working just as effectively. It doesn't have to see the squid. It only has to listen to the echoes coming back. That's enough to know exactly where to go. And once the whale can locate its prey with that kind of precision, the hunt enters a completely different stage. Finding the target is no longer the challenge. The real question is, what happens when the sperm whale finally closes the distance? Finding prey is only half the battle. The sperm whale still has to catch it. And this is where those powerful clicks become even more important. According to the video, the whale doesn't send sound in every direction. Instead, it produces an intense, focused beam that travels straight ahead. As it gets closer to its target, the clicks become faster and more frequent, giving the whale a constant stream of updated information. It's almost like refreshing a live map every second. The closer the whale gets, the clearer the picture becomes. That creates a huge advantage in complete darkness. The giant squid can't rely on the lack of light to disappear. Every movement sends information back to the whale through returning echoes. While the squid only knows that something large is getting closer, the sperm whale keeps receiving new details about where its prey is and how it's moving. It's not chasing blindly. It's making decisions based on information. That's what makes this hunt so different. The whale isn't winning because it's simply bigger or stronger. It's combining endurance, precise navigation, and constant feedback from its sonar to stay locked onto its target. The video also discusses another interesting idea. It suggests that the whale's powerful clicks may do more than just locate prey. Some researchers have proposed that these intense sound pulses could affect giant squid during close encounters, possibly making them less able to react. The video also compares the returning echoes to something like a medical scan, helping the whale gather remarkably detailed information. These ideas are fascinating, but they're still subjects of scientific discussion rather than proven facts. What is well supported is that echolocation gives the sperm whale an extraordinary way to navigate and hunt in total darkness. Exactly how much the sound itself affects the prey is still being studied. Even without those more debated ideas, the advantage is obvious. The whale always knows more than its prey. Every click adds another piece to the picture. Every echo tells it where to move next. By the time the giant squid realizes the danger, the sperm whale has already spent minutes building an accurate map of everything happening around it. In the deep ocean, information can be just as powerful as strength. And that's exactly what makes the sperm whale one of the most successful hunters in one of the harshest places on Earth. But even the best hunter doesn't escape every fight without a cost. The next chapter is written on the whale's own skin, in the scars left behind by the giant squid that refused to give up. If you ever look closely at an adult sperm whale, you'll probably notice something. Many of them are covered in round scars and long marks across their heads and bodies. Those scars aren't random. They're believed to come from encounters with large squid, especially the powerful suction cups lining their tentacles. That's one of the most interesting parts of this story. People often picture the sperm whale as an unstoppable predator that simply swallows everything in its path. But the evidence tells a more honest story. The hunt isn't always easy. When a giant squid realizes it can't escape, it fights back. It wraps its tentacles around the whale's head and body, trying to hold on or break free. Those powerful suckers leave circular marks that can remain on the whale for years. The whale usually wins, but it doesn't always walk away without paying a price. And there's another clue hidden inside the whale itself. According to the video, researchers have found large numbers of squid beaks inside the stomachs of adult sperm whales. Unlike the rest of the squid's body, those hard beaks can't be digested, so they remain behind. Over time, they become clear evidence of just how many squid these whales have hunted during their lives. Together, the scars on the outside and the beaks on the inside tell the same story. This isn't a predator that survives because its prey gives up. It survives because it's built to keep going, even when the fight becomes difficult. That's what makes those scars so meaningful. They aren't signs of failure. They're reminders that every successful hunter still faces resistance. The deep ocean isn't a place where victories come easily. Every hunt carries a risk. Every meal has to be earned. And maybe that's the most impressive part of all. The sperm whale doesn't rule the deep because every battle is effortless. It rules because it's prepared for battles that few other animals could survive. After everything we've seen, one thing becomes pretty clear. The deep ocean isn't trying to help the sperm whale. It's one of the harshest places on Earth. It's cold, it's dark, the pressure is overwhelming, and oxygen is always limited. For most animals, those conditions would make life almost impossible. For the sperm whale, they're exactly where it performs at its best. That's because none of its adaptations work alone. Its flexible ribcage handles the pressure. Its lungs reduce the risks that come with deep diving. Its heart slows down to save oxygen. Its muscles store that oxygen until it's needed. Its sonar replaces eyesight when light disappears. Every system supports the next one. Together, they turn one of the planet's most hostile environments into a place where the sperm whale has a real advantage. And that advantage goes beyond survival. By diving to depths that very few marine mammals can reach, the sperm whale gains access to food that many other predators simply can't hunt. The deeper it goes, the less direct competition it faces. That's a huge advantage in the wild. The deep sea isn't just where it lives. It's where it has the edge. I think that's the biggest lesson this animal teaches us. Most creatures spend their lives trying to avoid the hardest environments. The sperm whale did something completely different. Over millions of years, it adapted until those extreme conditions became its greatest strength. At the surface, it's just another air-breathing mammal that eventually has to come up for another breath. But deep below, where the cold, the pressure, and the darkness overwhelm almost everything else, those same conditions bring out nearly everything that makes the sperm whale extraordinary. That's why it doesn't just survive the abyss. It belongs there. After looking at everything, I think the most amazing thing about the sperm whale isn't its size. It's how perfectly every part of its body works toward the same goal. Nothing is there by accident. Its ribcage flexes instead of breaking under pressure. Its lungs collapse to reduce the risks of deep diving. Its heart slows down to save every bit of oxygen. Blood is sent where it's needed most. Its muscles become massive oxygen reserves. And its incredible sonar helps it hunt in a world where eyesight is almost useless. None of these adaptations are impressive on their own. What makes the sperm whale so extraordinary is how they all work together. It didn't make the deep ocean any easier. It changed itself until the deep ocean became the place where it had the greatest advantage. That's why the deeper it dives, the more powerful it becomes. For most animals, the abyss is a place to avoid. For the sperm whale, it's home. And honestly, I think that's the biggest lesson nature gives us here. Sometimes, success doesn't come from changing the world around you. It comes from becoming perfectly suited for the world you're in. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the ocean's most incredible predators, make sure to subscribe to Predator Archives. We've got many more stories waiting for you. From orcas and great white sharks to giant squid, blue whales, belugas, and other remarkable creatures that have mastered some of the harshest environments on Earth. Thanks for watching. and I'll see you in the next adventure.